My name is Larry Lutey. My wife, Sherry, and I have been coming to Christ Church for about 3 years. I was blessed and privileged to be called to serve on staff here as the Director of Human Resources. And at the same time, we were looking for a church home, and Sherry and I discovered this amazing place and have been worshiping here ever since. In December 2015, I was diagnosed with renal cell carcinoma, kidney cancer, which led to a surgery a few months after the diagnosis that removed half of my left kidney. The surgery that I had in January led to a number of complications that resulted actually in 8 significant surgeries over the next 6 to 12 months. That also included the amputation of my right leg and half of my left foot. It was a journey that actually began walking into the hospital with all the fear and trembling that comes before you have surgery to remove a cancerous tumor from your body, and standing at the desk in the very center of Edward Hospital at 6:15 a.m. was Rick Lyman to say a prayer with me before I went up to the room to prepare myself for surgery. Little did I know that Rick would be that rock for me over the next year and a half, showing up at all kinds of times when I most and sometimes least needed him, but to be that constant reminder that there was a prayer to be offered and God's presence to be claimed, even in the midst of those situations that were so frightening.
With Dan and his presence, with the way he just brought the Spirit of the Lord, I just had this sense of peace over everything. I always had somewhere to go, somewhere to call on, someone to be with me when I was frightened, when things were hard. It just sustained me. God really can work through his people to hold one another up.
In the process, when all these things were shutting down in my body, they gave me a 5% chance to survive. In fact, they told my daughter Jennifer to call the family together to say goodbye because the doctor was convinced after I went into cardiogenic shock that I wasn't going to survive the whole thing. The one thing I am absolutely convinced of is that the only reason that I made it, that last 5%, were the prayers of the people of this congregation, of my colleagues on staff, of those people who remembered me during those hours. Those are the things that pulled me through that crazy, crazy time. When we thought about all those things that had happened to me and paired that with what we as a congregation were going through with the Take Root journey, it seemed like it should be connected one to the other in the sense that, well, it pulled me through, so therefore we should, but that never really was part of the decision-making at all. Rather, when you go through something like I went through, it changes how you just look at life. It's just different. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I wake up that I am not so deeply thankful to be able to serve this congregation and this church and this staff. And so Take Root was, rather than an obligation, it was a privilege. We're not in this because of something that we're going to get at the end. It's not about a new building on the north end of the church. It's not about a new branch in Downers Grove, but it's actually the journey itself that makes all the difference. It's understanding the presence of God each and every time we have the privilege to offer something of ourselves back to the building up of God's kingdom. That's the joy of the whole thing.